what really happens inside your gut when you stop eating sugar for 21 days? Not just on the scale or in the mirror, but deep in the invisible world of your intestinal bacteria. The trillions of microbes that help control your metabolism, your immune system, and even your mood. In this video, you are going to discover what science is revealing about how your gut microbiota responds when you remove added sugar for 3 weeks, and why those 21 days can be a powerful reset for the ecosystem inside your intestine. Most people think that not eating sugar is only about weight loss or avoiding cavities, but your gut bacteria see it in a completely different way. Every gram of sugar you eat changes which microbes are fed and which are starved. When you constantly feed your body with sugary drinks, desserts, pastries, and ultra-processed foods, you are also feeding specific bacteria and yeasts that thrive on quick, simple sugars. Over time, this can reduce microbial diversity, promote more inflammatory species, and weaken the beneficial bacteria that protect your gut barrier and produce important compounds like short-chain fatty acids. In this video, you will see what tends to happen when you break that cycle for 21 days. You will understand how sugar restriction may help beneficial bacteria recover, how it can reduce the fuel for certain harmful microbes, and why this shift can influence digestion, cravings, inflammation, and even mental clarity. You will also learn why results are not identical for everyone and how other food choices during those 21 days can dramatically change the outcome. Before moving on, comment below if you are enjoying this video so far and tell from which country or city you are watching. And stay with this video until the very end, because the last part will explain how to approach a 21-day low sugar phase in a safer and more intelligent way. Remember, if you plan to change your diet significantly or cut sugar for 21 days, always do it under the supervision of a licensed medical professional. To understand what happens when you remove sugar for 21 days, it is essential to understand what the gut microbiota actually is. In simple terms, your gut microbiota is a vast community of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that live mainly in your large intestine. These microbes help you digest certain fibers, produce vitamins, generate short-chain fatty acids like butyrate, and communicate with your immune and nervous systems. A diverse, balanced microbiota is associated with better metabolic health, stronger immunity, and more resilient mood and cognition, while a disturbed microbiota, often called dysbiosis, is linked to inflammation, weight gain, and multiple chronic diseases. Sugar plays a powerful role in shaping this microscopic world. When your diet is high in added sugars and refined carbohydrates, you repeatedly flood the upper parts of your digestive tract with easy-to-absorb energy. A portion of this sugar is absorbed quickly into your bloodstream, but not all of it. Some reaches the lower intestine, where it becomes food for microbes that love simple sugars. Over time, frequent sugar intake can favor the growth of certain bacteria and yeasts that are associated with inflammation and metabolic disruption, while suppressing other species that prefer complex fibers and resistant starches. This imbalance can weaken the intestinal barrier, making it more leaky and allowing bacterial fragments and toxins to reach the bloodstream more easily. The immune system then reacts, increasing low-grade inflammation, which is linked to insulin resistance, visceral fat gain, and a higher risk of diseases like type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular problems. At the same time, some beneficial bacteria that produce short-chain fatty acids may decrease if they are not being fed with enough fiber. Those short-chain fatty acids are critical because they nourish colon cells, support a strong gut barrier, and help regulate appetite and inflammation. When you stop consuming added sugar for 21 days, you change the diet of your intestinal ecosystem. Microbes that depend heavily on constant sugar may lose their competitive advantage, while species that use fibers, polyphenols, and complex carbohydrates may gradually become more prominent, especially if you increase whole, fiber-rich foods during this period. This shift in relative abundance can influence not only digestion, but also cravings, energy stability, and even how satisfied you feel after meals. In other words, the question is not only how much sugar am I eating, but also which microbes am I feeding every single day. By the end of this video, you will have a clearer idea of how a 21-day sugar break may help rebalance that inner ecosystem. And if you appreciate this kind of science-based, easy-to-understand explanation, consider subscribing to the channel in a discreet way now, so you do not miss the next videos on gut health, metabolism, and long-term wellness strategies. The first few days without added sugar are often the most challenging, not only psychologically, but also biologically. Your brain and your gut bacteria have been used to frequent sugar hits, and both have adapted to that pattern. Certain bacteria and yeasts that thrive on sugar may have grown in number, influencing your cravings through chemical signals, fermentation products, and interactions with your nervous system. When you suddenly remove their favorite fuel, you can experience withdrawal-like symptoms. Stronger cravings, irritability, headaches, changes in bowel movements, or temporary dips in mood. From a gut perspective, the early phase of a 21-day sugar break is a stress test. Microbes that depend on constant sugar input may start losing ground. Some of them produce metabolites like gas, alcohols, or inflammatory compounds when they ferment sugars, which in high amounts can contribute to bloating, discomfort, and gut irritation. As these microbes receive less sugar, their activity and numbers may gradually decrease. At the same time, if you replace sugary foods with more whole foods, vegetables, legumes, nuts, seeds, and unprocessed starches, you begin providing more complex fibers that reach the large intestine and feed different bacterial groups. During the first week, these shifts can feel chaotic. You might notice changes in stool consistency, frequency, or odor as microbial populations adjust to the new environment. Some people experience more gas temporarily as fiber intake increases and the gut learns to handle it. Others may feel a surprising sense of relief, with less bloating and more stable energy as blood sugar swings start to calm down. The brain is part of this adaptation. Dopamine and reward circuits that were used to sugar hits have to reset, which is one reason cravings often intensify before they fade. Despite the discomfort, this period is critical for reshaping your microbiota. When sugar-loving species lose their privileged access to simple fuel, their influence on cravings and inflammation can gradually weaken. Meanwhile, bacteria that ferment fibers into beneficial short-chain fatty acids may begin to expand, especially if you provide them with consistent plant-based substrates. Over days, this can change the profile of signals traveling from your gut to your brain through the vagus nerve and through immune and hormonal pathways. Because of this, the first 7 to 10 days without added sugar are often less about visible results and more about internal renegotiation. Which microbes will dominate your intestine over the next weeks? Your choices during this phase, not just removing sugar but also what you add in its place, strongly influence the direction of that microscopic power struggle. By the time you reach 21 days without added sugar, many people experience a noticeably different internal environment, especially if they also increased fiber-rich, minimally processed foods. While individual responses vary, several trends commonly appear when sugar intake is reduced consistently over a few weeks. One of the most important is increased microbial diversity, a broader range of bacterial species coexisting in your intestine. Higher diversity is generally associated with more resilience, better metabolic flexibility, and a lower risk of certain chronic diseases. Beneficial bacteria that specialize in fermenting dietary fibers and resistant starches can become more prominent after a period of low sugar and higher whole food intake. These microbes produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate, acetate, and propionate. Butyrate in particular is crucial because it is the preferred fuel for cells in your colon. Adequate butyrate production supports a strong gut barrier, reduces local inflammation, and may help regulate appetite and insulin sensitivity. As short-chain fatty acid production improves, many people report better bowel regularity, less bloating, and a more comfortable digestion overall. Another shift often observed is a reduction in markers associated with gut-driven inflammation. When the intestinal barrier is more intact and fewer inflammatory compounds are produced by sugar-loving, dysbiosis-associated microbes, the immune system can operate in a calmer, more balanced state. This may translate into indirect benefits such as improved energy, more stable mood, fewer energy crashes after meals, and in some people, milder joint or muscle discomfort. Blood sugar regulation can also improve when frequent large sugar spikes are removed, which lowers stress on insulin-producing cells and reduces the roller coaster of highs and lows that drive cravings. At the same time, your taste buds and reward system adapt. After 21 days without added sugar, naturally sweet foods like fruit often taste more intense, and very sugary products can start to feel overwhelmingly sweet. This sensory recalibration can make it easier to maintain a lower sugar pattern beyond the initial 21-day experiment. From the microbiota side, a community that is less dependent on constant sugar infusions and more capable of thriving on fibers and whole foods is usually more compatible with long-term health. It is important to emphasize that 21 days is a powerful start, not a permanent cure. If someone returns immediately to a high-sugar, ultra-processed diet after these 3 weeks, the microbiota can shift back toward its previous state relatively quickly. The gut is dynamic and responds continually to what you eat, how you sleep, how stressed you are, and how active you are. However, a 21-day sugar break can act as a reset button, giving you a new baseline. Fewer sugar-dominated microbes, more fiber-loving allies, and a clearer experience of how your body feels without constant sugar. Simply removing added sugar for 21 days is a strong first move, but what you choose to eat instead is just as important for your gut bacteria. If you cut sugar but replace it with ultra-processed, low-fiber, artificial products, your microbiota may not receive the signals it needs to truly rebalance. To support beneficial bacteria, focus on whole, fiber-rich foods. Vegetables, fruits in moderation, legumes, nuts, seeds, and whole grains if you tolerate them. These foods provide the complex carbohydrates and plant compounds that many helpful microbes depend on for growth. Prebiotic fibers are especially powerful. These are types of fiber that your body cannot digest, but your bacteria can. Examples include inulin and fructooligosaccharides found in foods like onions, garlic, leeks, asparagus, and chicory, as well as resistant starch in cooked and cooled potatoes, green bananas, and some legumes. When your gut bacteria ferment these fibers, they produce short-chain fatty acids that strengthen the gut barrier and calm inflammation. Including small amounts of these foods regularly during your 21-day sugar break can give your microbiota the raw materials it needs to rebuild in a healthier direction. Fermented foods can also be valuable allies. Products like unsweetened yogurt, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, and other traditionally fermented vegetables deliver live microbes and beneficial metabolites that can help diversify your gut ecosystem. During a sugar-free period, choosing versions of these foods without added sugar is essential. Combined with fiber-rich plants, fermented foods can help repopulate your intestine with species that favor balance rather than chaos. However, not everyone tolerates all fermented foods, so it is important to pay attention to individual reactions and adjust as needed. Beyond diet, lifestyle factors play a strong role in how your microbiota responds to a 21-day sugar reset. Regular physical activity supports microbial diversity and metabolic health. Adequate sleep and stress management are equally important, because chronic stress hormones and sleep deprivation can negatively affect the gut barrier and microbial composition. Practices like walking, light strength training, deep breathing, or meditation can support both your nervous system and your gut during this transition. Hydration is also key. Water helps maintain proper digestion and supports the movement of fiber through the intestine. Finally, any significant dietary change should be considered in the context of your personal health history. People with digestive conditions, such as irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, or serious metabolic illnesses, should discuss a 21-day sugar reduction and any high-fiber adjustments with a licensed medical professional. Some individuals may need a slower transition, specific fiber choices, or tailored strategies to avoid symptom flares. The goal is not extreme restriction, but intelligent realignment. Feeding the microbes that protect you, starving the ones that harm you, and using 21 days as a structured experiment to experience how different your body and mind can feel when your gut bacteria receive better instructions.